I have a bottle. Okay, Larry, when we're ready,
But we ready? Okay. That's on me. I guess everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
$53 people on board. Firefighters helping to get them off the plane today. Down the New York State Thruway to Buffalo, New York tonight, the lake effect snow relentless. More than a foot of snow in the last 24 hours. Buffalo with double what it usually gets in January already. And now tonight,
Larry, I'm gonna do roll call, okay?
the Northeast by morning.
Yeah.
Larry Rosen,
Yeah.
Jay Respler, Karen Schoenberg, Kathy Dodano, Surjit Sandhu, Bob Brown, Tom Clark. We also have Jamie Cullen here, Kristen Pariza, and myself, Michelle Shanahan.
Moments after landing. The American Airlines flight carrying 50 people from Philadelphia.
Yes, the first order is the approval of the December 4th meeting minutes.
Can all
Does anybody want to? Bob made a motion to accept. Does anyone want to second that motion? Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All but Surjit, you have to abstain. So just a quick tip for the board members, whenever you want to speak, you're gonna press the button on the microphone. It'll be lit up red, and then when you're done, just press the button to turn it off.
Kristen?
Okay, so the first thing I have is the New Year's party was a success. Coming up in the ballroom in January 21st, this Sunday, is the Fleetwood Mac tribute. There are still tickets available. You see the concierge. In February, we will have a Linda Ronstadt tribute. On Monday, January 22nd, there's a health lecture. There's no charge for it, but we do ask that you sign up so that we know we have enough people, which as of right now we do, so it is happening. On Sunday, January 28th, there'll be a movie Maestro in the ballroom at 1 p.m. Also, no charge, just show up. We are trying a trip to Parks Casino on Wednesday, March 20th. We do need 50 people to attend for it to go. Right now, we have almost 30. So if you're interested, sign up with the concierge. Our Atlantic City trips, we have it the first Wednesday of each month, February 7th and March 6th. February is on sale now. March 6th will be on sale January 23rd. And lastly, we have a Super Bowl party. It's $8 per person, coffee and dessert included. It'll be here in the ballroom on the big screen. You can bring your own food, or there's an option to purchase food from the bistro. And of course, you could see all the flyers with more details. And that's it.
And thank you. Before we get to the management report, I just want to say something. We all got an email that Michelle had left, and then we got an email that Michelle came back. So I just want to let you know that she made it originally. Yes, I agree. And I just want to let you know that she's a valued employee, an assistant property manager. She made a hard decision to move on and expand and become a property manager, but after discussion with the board and with other people, she decided to remain with us. And as you know, Michelle is a hard worker, works hand in hand with everybody, and she's a valued member. And we're really, really happy that she decided to stay. That's all I wanted to make sure we said that. Thank you.
Before we go on with the rest of our meeting, I have a statement I want to make to all of you. As you probably know, I was a prosecutor for 30 years, and I am now a retired attorney in New Jersey. I have heard some really wild, false accusations being made by members of this community, naming people, suggesting things that they did that were improper, illegal, whatever. I want to caution you, and you can take this up with your own attorney if you want. If there is no such thing as free speech when it comes to defaming someone. If you make a remark or write an email calling someone out for something they never did, you are exposing yourself to a lawsuit for, if it's verbal, for slander, and a lawsuit for for libel, if it's in writing. I cannot tell you, I'm not answering any questions, I'm not your legal advisor, but I'm telling you that some of the stuff that I've heard being said here is a perfect subject for a lawsuit against you individually if you do that. In writing is libel. Verbal is slander. If you say something that defames a person, it causes their reputation to be challenged. You are exposing yourself, and I'm not kidding, how much money you could be liable for if that happens.
All right,
Ready for-
let's, Jamie, you're going to give the management report now?
Yes.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, so management report is short and sweet for the workshop. I'll go into more detail next week when we do the joint open meeting. So as you know, we had a big storm last week that did not involve snow, and we lost a lot of branches. There was a lot of wind. Some people had some siding damage, fascia damage, things like that. So we did have 2 people from LMS and our maintenance supervisor out collecting all the large branches that fell. We did lose a couple small trees. We cleared those up, made sure we cleared out the walking lanes. And that was just in time for you to get some snow and some ice. So that would also bring down some more branches for you, give you a little bit of frozen stuff on the ground. Cleaned all that up, and now it's going to snow again tomorrow. So we're ready for it. Don't worry. We're all ready. But just so you know, when the storms happen, it takes a while for us to clean up such a large community. We get a lot of calls, it's 10 a.m. Why haven't they cleaned my driveway yet? There's 1,607 homes. We do spread a few crews out throughout the community, but it still takes a while for them to get to each home. So don't worry, be patient. We'll always get to you. And as far as securing your homes, I need to make sure that everyone here is locking their front door, their back door, their garage door, the door that goes into your home and your garage, and make sure you're locking your vehicles. This is not something that is just for our community. This is something that is everywhere. And it's something we've had some residents lately calling saying, oh, I left my garage door open and security didn't call me. Security does still call you if they observe it. There are times that they are very busy and they can't. There are times the weather's very bad and they don't see that your garage door is open. But knowing that the door in your garage that goes into your home is locked is an added security measure. Knowing that your vehicle is locked, so there's not a way to get into your home, is an added security measure. So just making sure that everybody's locking up. Before the storms, make sure you're securing things on your patio. We find a lot of grill covers after big windstorms, and we never know who they belong to, so they just end up going nowhere. And it's a shame because I know they're not cheap. So that was for WOA. For the condos, the chimneys, we are about 90% done with the chimneys that needed to have the flue extensions. As you are scheduled, Apex is leaving a note in your door letting you know it's done. They're also sending you an email that it's done. And we are closing out the work order to let you know. So if your fireplace is decommissioned, the note says we've capped off your decommissioned chimney. If your fireplace is safe to use, it says the work is done and now you can use your fireplace again. So if you have any questions, just call the management office. The berm enhancement plantings for the condos are all complete. They were completed last month. I've noticed a few of the arborvitaes are a little bit in shock because it's been so cold, but we have a 1-year warranty, so we'll keep an eye on them and hopefully in the spring they'll perk back up and they'll fill in nicely along Perineville and Municipal Drive. And that is it for me.
Right, and I also want to compliment our management and our employees and the team at the great job they did with the snow removal and taking care of everything. It was really a big task and it was done efficiently, and I'm sure there isn't anybody here who could say otherwise. Thank you very much. As always. Okay, move on to new business. Who's going to? The spending limit?
Larry, I want to make a comment before we discuss this. Since this is an open workshop meeting, I want to raise a point. Jamie, as our property manager, her spending limit has been drastically reduced. So she had to send an email to clear the sidewalks and salt. And she wanted an answer within 1 hour so LMS can make arrangements. You know, they had to hire extra people, extra crews. Unfortunately, you know, most of my friends weren't up at that time. And luckily, I don't know how she did it. We were able to clean the sidewalks and salt them. So for emergencies, I would like that spending limit to be increased. How much? My suggestion will be go back to whatever it used to be. Or else, can you imagine if your sidewalks weren't salted or cleaned and you got up that morning? Thank you, Larry.
Jamie has always had the ability to do whatever she has to do in an emergency. The issue before this board is really whether or not to give a blanket amount that she can spend if it's not an emergency that she's allowed to expend. And there have been many times that residents here have complained about things and how much is available. So the board has decided, we're voting whether to limit in a non-emergency situation the amount that she can spend without board permission. That is all this is. She can spend in an emergency any amount she has to. Because people were complaining about certain purchases that were made. She didn't, but she was just courtesy, but she had to, and now I think she agrees with us that in that situation, she doesn't have to call us.
Well, I think you need to make a motion and then talk about the motion.
Okay. Hello, look,
No, that's not what was said.
let me, can I,
Don't talk to me like that, Sandra.
can I make a statement? I want to make a statement. The minutes that we just approved clearly show that on an emergency basis, Jamie was allowed to spend up to $50,000. She's the manager. She can certainly make that determination what's an emergency. No one has denied her of that. So it's there, it's clearly, it's in the minutes, it shows it, we just approved it. So I don't know what the huss is about. The $5,000 arrangement was on non-discretionary spending.
So there hasn't been a motion yet. If anyone has questions from the audience, they would have to go to the microphone, but the motion was never made at the last meeting. That's why it's on here. So does someone want to make a motion?
All right.
You have to turn on your microphone, please.
Make the motion to put a spending limit of $5,000
Right.
for non-emergency
Non-emergency items,
events.
$50,000 for emergency items.
Second, the
If I
motion.
could just say something, the snow removal cost was not a defined amount. We didn't know if it was going to be under the 50,000 or over the 50,000. So Jamie did what she thought was in the best interest without creating a problem, was reached out to all the board members to want to make sure that we were all okay in the event it exceeded the limit that's available. So it was early in the morning. I got the email early. I responded, other board members did, that we felt under the circumstances, there should be no cap. And since it needed to be taken care of, we all agreed. So it's an unforeseen situation and there was no amount that we could make a determination of what it would be or what it wouldn't be.
Before you speak, Jamie has a routine if the snow is 2 inches or more, she automatically takes care of it. This was 1.5 inches of ice. Okay? And therefore, it didn't fall within the 2 inches that she would usually be guided by. I think we have made it, on the board, and I think the rest of us have made it clear that that is her judgment. She knows, she's very experienced, and she knows, and if she hadn't authorized the ice removal, we'd be in bad shape right now. So that was really what it was, I think. Jamie, do you agree with my analysis?
Can I bring up some?
Actually, before we discuss it, shouldn't we have a second? Oh, okay.
The motion on the table, the motion made by Jay is for management to have a $5,000 spending limit cap with the exception of emergencies, which would be $50,000 cap.
I just don't understand why people are complaining about the emergency fund. It's for your benefit. You're saying $50,000 and suppose you got 20 inches of snow. It's not going to be 50,000. It'll be 100,000. No. So what are you complaining about? You're arguing over $50,000 if she's got the right to do it. She has the right to do it to protect us.
We can't have him talking. If she get up there to talk, otherwise everybody be yelling.
Well, you were
Well-
talking about that.
So, listen, I think there's a real misunderstanding. As Karen said, the snow didn't hit the 2-inch where it becomes we have to do it. It was, and also the amount that it was going to cost could have exceeded the emergency amount that she was allowed to spend. So Jamie, just doing due diligence, wanted to make sure that the other board members knew. We all agreed it was in the best interest of the community. And there was no other question beyond that. Nobody said no. We all said yes. But since it was a situation where we couldn't, we didn't know the amount that it would be. We had no idea. We did get a rate sheet. We dealt with it, but we weren't sure. So we just did it. And I don't know why we're getting into it since we agreed it was an emergency and it was taken care of and it was done like Carmine said. Okay.
Yeah, but Larry, what it's worth. Some of our members did not answer till 10 o'clock. Can you imagine if she was waiting that long to make arrangements? My point is, why set a limit 50,000? Why not say within reason, depending upon the amount of snow, the conditions, let it be whatever it is. The safety of our community is our number one priority. So you want to play games with that? Fine, of course. Nobody wants.
Excuse me. I just need a clarification, if I may. I used to be years ago on the Greenbrier Board. I'm sorry, Marcia Forest, 11 Whitehall. So as I said, I'm not here to challenge anybody. I just want a clarification. When we saw the proposed budget a couple of meetings ago, snow removal was in the budget. It's a line item. So I'm a little confused about why Jamie had to approve something when it's already been budgeted.
So just to clarify, snow removal, there's a lot that goes into snow removal. There's a lot of decisions to be made. Anyone who has served on the board, and I know a lot of you in the audience today have, or on budget and finance and seen some of those numbers. So if it's under 2 inches, it becomes just a discretionary judgment.
Oh, okay,
Is it freezing?
okay.
Yes. Is it going to be freezing tomorrow? Yes. Okay, then you know what? It's 1.5 inches, but we're going to get this off the ground and we're going to solve.
Fine.
Some communities around here didn't, and they have skating
Okay.
rinks in their parking lots.
Okay, so thank you. You answered
But
that.
the other part is salt and CMA. So that is not an automatic at 2 inches. That also is discretionary. So again, in the past, I used my judgment. If we're going to get 3 inches of snow tomorrow, which we may, but it's going to be 50 degrees the next day, you don't really need to salt because it's going to be warm the next day. So there are just some things that we need to clarify, some spending limit changes with this board, with myself, that I want to make sure I'm following the processes that they're putting in place for me. So I sent them an email because we didn't hit the 2-inch mark. When I mean, listen, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. You never know when it's going to stop snowing. It could be 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I'm the one who's on the call with them. So I sent the email. Luckily, Surjit was still on time from his trip in India, so he was emailing me. I made the call regardless. You know, it is what it is, but it's just something that we had to discuss, and I needed to know where the board stands with me making that decision. And the Greenbrier board wants me to continue to have discretion to make the decision for the Greenbrier snow clearing as well. So that will continue as it did before.
Okay, the second part of my request for clarification. When I was on the Greenbrier board, and as I said, it was a number of years ago, my understanding was that WOA, and at that time, Bill Hinkle was our general manager, WOA could spend up to $50,000 without requesting approval for anything. Greenbrier, and this was in the original bylaws, Greenbrier could only spend up to $5,000 without a vote for the community. So has this changed?
I don't believe that Greenbrier can only spend $5,000. They've definitely purchased, I mean, maybe for a non-budgeted item, but no, it has not changed. The bylaws for WOA have not changed.
Okay, so if that's the case, why are we making a motion to, if you can spend up to $50,000? I'm confused, sorry.
The motion is to have a $5,000 limit on non-emergency items.
Okay, so you're actually amending the,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
Correct.
Eileen Carpenter, 23A Rutland. So I understand you're saying $5,000 on a non-emergency item needs to go above 5,000. Jamie would need to come to the board and say, this is what we need to spend, and the board needs to agree. I don't think the community votes. That's my understanding. The community doesn't get to vote on anything. Correct? Because that's what I've been told. The community has no say in any of this stuff. We elect you and you do everything. That's what I was told. Okay, but what I want to talk about is the emergency stuff. First of all, I want to thank Jamie for sticking her neck out there and doing the right thing. And I don't know about anyone else, but I sure appreciated coming out with the thing to do salt, and they were salting already. So I thought that was terrific. I do not think Jamie needs to get approval for any amount for a snowstorm. I think what we could say is if you're going above the 50,000 limit, send an email. You do not have to wait for a response. Okay, so why don't we say that and not put a limit on you and not put strings on your hands, because you have to do your job, and your job is our community, keeping it safe. And I don't think that you should have to play games, excuse me, with that. If it's going to take $100,000 to clear something, you should be able to do that. And I'm sorry, putting that limit on that it's insane. It really is. And it's unfair, and it's untrusting. And I just don't think you should have that in there. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Larry, since this is not an action meeting, the purpose is to have this for discussion and input from the residents. This will be placed on the next meeting, which is the action meeting, and it'll be voted on at that time. Next week.
Okay, but the agenda does say vote.
Yeah, I put it on for vote because it was discussed at the last meeting, so I can put it on the agenda for a vote on the next meeting if you choose to table it for this one.
If we're following what Tom said, then anything that's here for voting should be held to the next meeting. It's just for a discussion. Yeah.
Since I made the motion, I would ask us to table it till the next meeting.
The 25th. They got her.
Go to the next meeting for the vote on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right, this is my question. I mean, there's two parts to my question. Oh, Sandra Cohen, 9 Winthrop Road. So I've been on the board and I don't understand. We've always trusted, there's a matter of trust here. We've always trusted the manager, whatever we want to call it, to make the decision for us. They didn't have to call in the middle of the night to wake up. And if it's an emergency, you really shouldn't email. You should just call and wake everybody up. But there's a matter of trust here, that you trust the board, you trust the manager of the community to do what is right for the community. So I'm just very confused, which is my state lately. You're talking about $5,000 for emergency things only.
No.
$50,000 for emergency only, but you want to put it down to 5. Well, explain it to me, like I'm 5 years old.
So what the board wants to do is limit the manager, Jamie, from spending, wants to limit the ordinary spending to be capped at 5,000.
What do you mean ordinary spending?
Whatever's not essential, whatever.
All right, so if you want to, all right, and now that's the
And in the
clarification.
event of an emergency, cap it at 50,000. But from what I'm hearing from the residents, and I agree that in an emergency basis, we shouldn't be sitting here worrying about what the amount is and just take care of it. So I'm not,
Okay. All right, so for any emergency, she shouldn't have to call you because there's a matter of trust here. That's why she's working for us. So we should just trust and know that she's going to do the best for the community. Thank you.
Let me just try to clarify this. The 50,000 has always been there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie. 50,000 was always the limit for an emergency or not?
50,000 was the limit for an emergency.
So understand that's where that number came from. The only item that we were bringing to the table is for those items that are non-essential, non-discretionary. Furniture was given as an example, could be any type of replacement of chairs and so on. We wanted to reduce that not to 50,000, but bring it down to 5,000. That was what the request was. We're not changing anything. Our response, or most of our responses to Jamie when she sent this, and it was a courtesy email just to make us aware. We all basically responded, it's an emergency, do what you have to do. So I don't think the matter or the number of 50,000 only came up in this meeting because yes, an emergency may cost more than 50,000, but we didn't even talk about that. We were just concerned with non-discretionary, non-essential items, furniture as an example, chairs, 2 separate items, a speed camera.
Kathy, I agree with the $5,000 amount. The part that bothered me, in Jamie's mind, she is not certain that the old rules apply anymore, even though the limit was 50, but there was a understanding, if it's more, so be it. Was it trust, whatever you want to call it. I would like to go back to the same standard. That's all I'm asking.
Carmine, if you want to talk, you have to go to the microphone. We have 50 people on Zoom.
Carmine, I can, you're talking about 50,000 per occurrence or event, right? Not an aggregate amount, meaning it's not an aggregate amount, meaning it's not capped at 50,000. It's an individual amount based on the situation at hand. Right. Well, unless they don't know the difference between individual and aggregate. Okay. Yeah, yes, we're going to vote on it next week, correct?
We need to speak about it again next week.
Next week, to clarify, January 25th, Thursday, is our joint board meeting.
Lolly Reich, Wellfleet, a 3 Wellfleet. We always had one meeting as a morning meeting and one meeting as an evening meeting. I want to know why that was taken away. Yes, we always had that. Yes. Can anybody on the board answer me why this was?
The meeting, it was agreed upon the board. It was discussion on it.
Who agreed? The
The
board? No,
The board.
okay.
The
There,
meeting.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
The
Sure.
meeting, it was decided that the meeting would be moved to a set time. Try to keep it to the same set dates so that you can get the maximum amount of attendance from people who are working and non-working. There's a lot of working people in this community. And the only time they can come here is during the evening hours. They certainly can't come during the day when they're working. So we wanted to keep it open to everyone who could possibly attend the meeting and increase that.
Okay. A good reason, but there are a lot of seniors here who do not go out at night. And those meetings in the morning were very well attended. And I myself really am sorry that you all agreed to have this done, in 2 nights.
Okay, you want to?
That's
All right.
going on.
Lolly,
I'm sorry.
I have to disagree with what you just said because I've been here for 10 years I used to go to every morning meeting there was. And if there were 20 people in that room, that was a lot. This way, we have the Zoom, we have people who go to work, we have to be fair. But the attendance was terrible. Yes, all the years I went, and the people who were on the board at that time can probably remember because I used to speak up. But there was never anybody there. And that, but I'm saying there were maybe 20 people. Well, really. There was a group of about 5 from the Whittingham, and then there was a few extra people, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
I'd like to just respond also. We are trying this, and we're trying it because we've been told, again, we try to listen to as many of our homeowners as we can, but we've been told that a lot of the new individuals who have bought into the community are in fact employed still. I was when I came into the community, and I could not attend a morning meeting ever. I was able to attend evening. I understand. And again, we are just trying it. If we hear, and again, you're welcome to give your comments, but because, and I want to make this clear, because one person goes up in opposition, there may be 10 who are in favor. So we try to listen. Everybody has a different opinion, and not everyone is going to agree. We're trying this. If we see that it doesn't work out, I think we are all amenable to changing it. I am now retired, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. Okay.
Again, I have this on my list to discuss because when I spoke to you, Kathy, if you remember that the last meeting, you said that you would try to get that done, a morning meeting, an evening meeting. Yes, at the end of the meeting, I spoke to you personally. What percent of people do you think are new people who are working in the community? 50%? 20%? Yeah, who are working. When I moved here, I was working. I came to the evening meetings. I couldn't wait to be retired to come to the day meeting. So all the working people have an evening meeting to go to. All the other people who are retired, they don't want to come out in the evening. I mean, did I want to come out tonight when it was 17 degrees? If I had the morning meeting, I would have been happy to go to that one. If the entire community becomes a working, not an over 55 community, I could understand where you would want all evening meetings, but we're not. Maybe there's 15% of all working people. So for the 15%, you're going to make it, because you're going to have an evening meeting. We would like to continue the daytime meeting, which was convenient for a lot of us, whether it was 20 people or 120 people, or whether you'll have those same 20 people in an evening meeting. That has nothing to do with it. You're basing it all on that people are working. So for those 15 people, 15 residents, you are going to have an evening meeting. Why can't we have our morning meeting? I don't really want to come out at night, nor do a lot of people in the community, nor do a lot of people who do not drive want to do that. So I really would like you to, the board, I really would like the board to consider that. The Greenbrier has a very short meeting usually, so they only have an evening meeting and they come to the WOA meeting on that during the day and talk about the things that are within their purview. Thank you.
I think a lot of this should be held for the open forum so we can move on with the meeting. Okay. Yeah, Jenny, we're going to discuss the new business items.
The next item for discussion was the garden club allowance. If a board member wants to discuss the request and what they would like to approve.
We're not sure. We agreed to give him
Okay. So the Garden Club is one of our clubs in the community. We had a request from the Garden Club for a 2,300, we got several different requests. I think it was 2,300. We sat and discussed what would be appropriate to give the Garden Club. It does beautify the community. Okay, and we discussed and agreed upon $1,000 for the club. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think since the request is coming from you, I think you should come up and give us what you had originally requested, and then we can respond to it.
I'm on Campanella, 80 Leeds Lane. I have been running the garden club for about 8 years. Prior to that, I helped Ivan Radowitz, who started the club, for the 4 years prior to me becoming in charge or president, whatever you want to call it. Every year I would collect, we have 36 gardens, okay? Every year I would collect $10 from each of our gardeners, okay? And they would buy their own plants and things like that. I don't know what you're talking about, Sandy, about vegetables. Yeah, it's not that we're giving vegetables to the community. Well, you made a comment just now, but the thing is that all these years we've used our own money to pay for anything we needed. And this past year, a couple of years ago, they put new fencing in. Jamie had new fencing put in, and they put in a chicken wire, which was a 4-inch mesh. Okay, and the animals were still getting through. So last year was decided I was going to buy the chicken wire. I bought 400 feet of chicken wire. We installed it ourselves. It's 1-inch mesh and nothing gets through that. Okay. We sent samples out to Rutgers to get our soil tested. Okay. In the last 2 years, we've had it tested and we did whatever Rutgers said we had to do. If the soil was too acid, we made it alkaline. If it was too alkaline, we made it acid. Last year, I saw the handwriting on the wall and I took $20 from everyone, including myself. And I had, because of COVID and things like that, I still had about almost $500 carried over from the previous 2 years. I spent over almost $1,100 last year out of our money. Okay. And we make 36 people happy. And they run a garden, they put their own plant in it, and they take care of it. Anything we've ever bought, we paid for with our own money. This year, the one thing we haven't had for years was good topsoil. And I requested 2 truckloads of topsoil. And it's going to cost about $700 or $360 delivered for each truckload of 10 cubic yards. I've also requested that we purchase 36 bales of peat moss. The only place you can get it is Costco. 2 years ago, I got it at Costco for $8 a bale. Last year was 2 for $25. So I spent almost $400 for it. So all I've been requesting, and Jamie can verify it, is I wanted 2 truckloads of topsoil, and I wanted them to pay for 36 bales of peat moss. That's it. Kathy, I never asked for a set amount of $2,300. Maybe, Jamie, I don't know if you felt that was a line that you felt you could deal with. I don't know.
We got a proposal for what you had requested and that was the total.
Okay, was that with Pascarella?
No, you had provided some numbers from Pascarella. We got a quote from LMS just for the board to consider numbers.
Okay, because so the problem with LMS a couple of years ago, they got us topsoil, and it was very sandy and it was like concrete, and that was one of the worst years we've ever had. But to make everybody aware, whatever we grow, we keep. And I am a stickler for people who take a garden. And this year, there are a couple of people who are going to lose their rights to the garden. I have 8 people on the list that want a garden. And what we're going to do is, if you don't take care of your garden, we're going to take the fruit off your garden and give it to a food bank. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So our garden is for 36 people. Everybody has a club. Nobody has a club that has, except for maybe the Italian American club where you have over a couple of hundred members. But most clubs, the bocce court and things like that, they might have 40 or 50 members, and we take care of our own stuff. And all I'm doing is asking for this limit. Not every year. I don't need topsoil every year, but maybe every couple of years it needs to be replenished. Okay, I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I mean, you made the case and we'll respond to what you
Okay,
said.
thank you, Tom.
The request came in. We looked at it. We asked Jamie to take a look and she got a quote from LMS. It was kind of high. We looked at other ways of bringing it down, which we did. So the board felt that the maximum amount of money they could give you was about $1,000 to accomplish what you want. Am I correct in that? Yeah. Okay. So about $1,000, I mean, is, well, I don't know if it's going to cover your full course. That's what I'm saying. Well, okay. So I got you. Well, anyway, the request that you got, we looked at it, it was looked at and we said the best we can do under the conditions and the budget we have is $1,000.
All
Okay,
right, so.
thank you.
Yes, name and address, please.
Ruccio, 80 Woodruff Road. Pertaining to the, I just want to answer the person that spoke about the garden club. First of all, Ivan Radowitz didn't start the garden club. I started the garden club. We built it from scratch. And one other thing, Ivan asked me to drop out so he could become president, which I did. I did that. I dropped out. He turned out to be the worst leader in the world. And that's it. Hey, Sandra, you've been on this microphone 4 times already, and you told me to.
All right. Thank you for your comments, but.
Joe Sacco, 11 London Drive. I'm not an accountant. I've never sat on a board, but I do have a question. You came out with a budget, and the budget had all different items and the amount of money accordingly. Okay? Now, you're talking about $50,000 with the snowstorm, or the ice storm, shall I say. And my thought is, wasn't there any money left over from previous budgets for at least part of it? Because we haven't had snow in 2 years.
Okay, so just to go back, a lot of these things are gonna have to go to open forum at the end, but just to answer this quickly, yes, there is a snow budget. There's also a snow surplus fund that we hold extra money, snow surplus years, there's no snow. There's extra money kept in that fund. So you do have money to pay for the snowstorm, but anything that's not on the agenda, if we could just hold to open forum, this way we can get through.
No, that didn't answer the question, but whatever.
I'm fighting my brother. Me.
Jay has put in a lot of stuff that he wants to bring to everybody's attention. So it's there.
Get ready, Kristen.
I'm Ruccio.
He's just up here.
Tom? You come up, please.
You got to talk right into the microphone, Jay.
We'd like to recognize Tom because we have the rounder out there with the flyers. When we first got it, people were complaining that the flyers on the bottom were too low to be seen. So went to the woodworking club and asked if somebody would do something to help us with that. Tom, on his own, built it. He paid no charge for the labor, parts, or anything like that. Excuse me? No, he did.
Yeah,
What we want to do is when somebody does something to help the community, we should recognize them. So I want to thank you, Tom. We appreciate you doing it to help us out.
Oh my God, Sandra. Yeah, Sandra Cohen.
Since you were recognized.
The garden shop was started about 20 years ago. We started the garden shop. I mean, the carpenter shops in the garden shop.
Wood shop.
The carpenter shop. We did a lot of work for the residents. We built the mailboxes that are in the library. And we built the posts, the mailbox posts. And recently, about 15 years ago, I built the scoreboards for the bocce court. And the board was bought, whoever was buying them, plastic scoreboards that broke in 6 months. So I built them about 15 years ago and they lasted up until this year, which I rebuilt all the scoreboards again. Right now I'm working on, I built the stanchions to rise up the ball because some of the elderly residents couldn't bend over the balls. So I needed 6 for 3 courts, both sides. The board gave us enough for one, $87, I think it was. So I built one with that. 3 of them I built with wood I scavenged up and somebody from the woodworking club.
Tom, may I interrupt? We're only honoring you for the roundabout. That's it.
It's nice to hear that. But wait. Even though we are honoring Tom for his work and doing that, it's nice to hear that it's not only that, he's done a lot of other things that he should be honored for.
And then it also, we had a family fun day, which everybody enjoyed. Kristen in the recreation office, which is directly across, did a good job. I'd want to call her up. What I would ask is that during the day sometime when you pass the office, just go in there, tell her you appreciate it, and thank her for doing the good work that she did. Thank you.
Sandra.
Okay, next thing is the, people have been asking about phone books. I'd like to have. People have been asking about phone books. Not everybody wants it. Some people do want them. I'd like to set up a committee of a few people here so we can come up with something that would satisfy people. Maybe not the $15,000 that we spent in the past, but if we can come out with a phone book that everybody would, those who want it, to find a way for them to get it. Do you have a sample of? No, just say. I would work with Kathy because she came up with a sample of something that we would like to do or we're thinking of doing. And if we have this committee, we can decide what else to get, what else to do with the phone book.
You have to write down this, Rajiva. 727.
So basically what I did was I was able to take the phone book that is currently on our GW Monroe website and convert it so that it fit into a, say, 5x7 book. And I was able to put that on a flash drive so that if needed, we can take it and printed ourselves in the format of a book, or we can take it to a local vendor, printer, who can then at least price it out for us. So I think the initial thought is, if anyone, we can print out a few, make them available to our homeowners, have them come and pick up a book if they need it. And then we can gauge how many people need a printout, how many people want it, and if we need to print more, we can do that. We can go any way. We can do it both ways. We can do, and I have it both ways. I have it by address and I have it by last name. The addresses being, say, alphabetized by street name. So yes, I can make it available. I can make it available on 8.5 by 11. I'd be happy to print out a couple for people if they needed it right away. Again, this is something we can do, but I'm just bringing it out there so that people understand that, yes, we are listening. We do want to find out if people even need it. Personally, I don't want a book. I threw the last one I had out. Don't need it. It's available on the computer. Some people find it easier to have the book in their hand. So I think what we're going to do is try it out first, print a few, even if I have to do it at my expense, print a few, make them available, and find out how many are picked up. Roughly, if you put both by alphabetical order and then by street address order, it's roughly, if I recall correctly, about 127, 28, something like that pages.
Carmine.
We should not answer them. Tell everybody to go up because I can't hear them.
When you think about how much you pay to print out all those pages, because I know I did it. And I went through one whole cartridge of black. So you're spending $50, $60 just there alone. My suggestion would be leave what you have on the portal right now, but every quarter, print out it on an email and up to date new resident's phone number and name. That's all. And you can just print out 1 page or 2 pages and keep what you have with the other stuff. Otherwise, spending $50, $60 to print that out, it's really, you're going to complain about spending 20. I'd rather spend the 20 than spend 60, so that's all.
Maria DeLucia, 85A Winthrop Road. My suggestion would be, since not everyone wants it, have it allow people to order it if they wish and pay for it. Not everyone wants it. If you could get it at a cheaper price, there's no reason that anyone on the board should have to go through personal expense to provide copies. You can have 1 or 2, let people come in, let them take a look or send pictures by email. And then I think people should be allowed to order them if they want. And I would not, and that is certainly my suggestion, and then everyone's happy. You don't get them, you're not throwing out ones that you don't want, and the people that need them and want them will have them. Thank you.
I just want to say, on the prior board, a statement was made, and I assume the board is the board, that they were looking into funding advertisers to support a phone book. And you may be a new board, but all the same projects are still there. So I would look into what was done with that and see if we can do something with that as well.
So I got 2 offers. LMS offered $1,000 and Bistro offered a contribution. I would have to double check. He actually handed me a check that day, but it's not enough. The last time we printed the phone book, it was over $15,000. I mean, there's 1,607 homes.
Okay.
So we tried, previously the newsletter publisher did this for us and they sold advertising, but during COVID and after COVID, they were unable to do that. That's what caused this major issue. We used a publisher who actually resides here to print the last one for a savings, and they did help us as much as they could, but with nothing to subsidize that, no advertising or anything, it was very expensive. So we do have a couple of vendors willing to contribute, but I don't have a pool of people that I can go solicit to advertise in your phone book because we're a nonprofit. I can't take checks from vendors. So they would have to actually write the check to the printing company. It becomes very, very, very complicated. We tried. Previously, when The Voice, their publisher did it, you did not have to pay for it because the advertising paid for it. So it was no cost to you.
I would also like to make a suggestion with the phone book. When it's done by name, there are a lot of places, a lot of homes have two different last names. And if you put them under one name, nobody knows to look under the first name for the second name. So when you have two people in a house, I would suggest that when it's alphabetized, put both names there. It has always been done up until the last phone book and it's online now. The online part has both names under the first person. So you never know to look for the second person. So the online version and any printed version should have both names listed. And actually the address, it's funny, where you have the address, like number 1, you'll have, and it's 2 different names. They'll put those names separately under the same address. That's not necessary. As long as you have the address, you could put both names on the same line. I would like to set up, that's what the whole thing is about, to get a few people together to decide how we should set up the phone book. That's really what this question is.
Nobody can hear what anyone in the audience says unless they go to the microphone, Sandra.
Volunteers for a committee. Do I see 3 volunteers sitting there for this committee? Sandra, did you volunteer?
And you want to?
Okay,
There's
so.
2 of us.
We don't need that many
Question
people.
from Zoom. Would your new phone book have a map? The original phone book had a map.
No, we're both. You speak, I can't hear that great, so.
Jay, can you hear?
Put a map in there, yeah, why not?
Can you hear me, Jay? I will repeat what she just asked. She asked if
Yeah.
there's going to be a map.
Yeah,
in the
we can
phone.
easily put a map in. And for those of you who don't know, if you need a map right now, they do have some at the concierge, so just go up there, and I'd rather have it separate than rather than in the book, because I can take the separate one around with me.
Kristen, you know you want to come to these. This is.
I think we should.
Yeah. Next thing I have is copy documents. There's been some discussion. This is really for the board to discuss. The question has come up whether we should allow documents to be copied. So opinions from the board. What does the board want to do?
Can I, Jay, this has been an item that's been discussed amongst the board. And it's an item that I felt strongly about even before I was on the board as a homeowner and a payer of my HOA fees every month. That if the board is doing business, no matter what that business is, as long as it's done at an open public meeting and there are contracts that are awarded, and if someone wants to be able to come in and see the contract and get a copy of it, you should be able to do that. So currently, you are able to come in and view it by appointment, but you cannot make copies. If some
If
of
you
these
have a
contracts
question,
are
please go to
extremely
the
long and very
microphone.
complicated, and you cannot always read it in a little chair in an awkward place and fully understand it, something you may want to take home and look at it and to try to read it 3 or 4 times to understand how some of these legal documents are put together. It's pretty complicated. So the issue is, do we want to allow residents who are paying for this the opportunity, if they want to, they don't have to, but if some people feel strongly about seeing a particular document, they would like to come in and get a copy of it and view it. Now, it's nothing confidential in these agreements here. They were all done publicly at a meeting here. So there's nothing about confidentiality. So the question is whether or not the board wants to make that policy to make that happen. And I'm okay with that. I don't know how the other board members are, but I think if you're living here and you're paying for all this stuff and you would like to better understand a particular thing, if you have a concern about it, you should be able to get a copy and look at it and make your own determination.
Okay, my only question that I think the board should consider in this is who has to pay for the copying? If a lot of residents come in and they want to make copies for whatever reason they have, it will be a fortune for the board to have to make copies and pay for it. So I'm only saying that that's something that the board has not discussed yet. And I think we should talk about it because everybody's complaining about how our budget is. I don't want to have a paper budget that's going to be astronomical.
Karen, the answer to that is in the law. You can request a copy, but you have to pay for the copying costs.
Okay, listen, what he just said is the Radburn law that guides us in all our decisions now provides the answer to that question, which is under the law. If a resident wants to get a copy of a contract, they have to pay for the copying. And then we will give a copy if the board votes to
Yeah.
agree to it. We will give a copy.
That's pretty standard even in
Yes.
municipal governments, that if
Yes.
you come in and you want to see something and you say, I need copies of it, they set a fee, it's maybe 25 cents a page or whatever the fee is put onto it. I mean, if you're getting a big document, it's going to cost you a little bit of money. If you're getting something that's 2 or 3 pages, it's a minor thing. But it covers the cost of staff's time and the material and the printing and all this stuff. So it's a fair request. It's something that's done all the time. So it's nothing unusual about that. Well, here you can't even get a copy of it right now. So
Can I be heard
we're
on?
looking to change that. Okay. Again,
The law provides a photograph of copies of it.
you should be able to allow, if you want to make a copy on your phone, it's the same thing. So if you want to take pictures, take pictures. I don't see any difference between the two. You're getting a copy of the document, whether you do it on your phone or you get it on a piece of paper. So,
Mark Sirks, I'm at 60 Dawson. So I've been 9 years, 10 years roughly on the board here. I've been president of another HOA board in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where I own a piece of property there. And so I've got a good number of years' experience with working on homeowner boards, HOA boards. It is absolutely not customary for homeowners to be able to take copies of documents from the community. What homeowners are allowed to do at any time is request to see any document. Now, we're talking about any contract, any invoice, anything other than payroll, which is confidential. Any homeowner in this room can ask to see any of those documents. They need to make an appointment. They can't just show up and say, I want to see this or I want to see that. And those homeowners are forbidden from removing the documents from the room where they're reading it, and they're forbidden to copy it from the room. They could take notes, but they can't make copies. So the notion that this is somehow customary, maybe in the municipal world, where every document is open to everybody to see, I'll get to it. Our documents don't share that. Our documents have a certain amount of privacy associated with them. A good question is why. So we have a contract with LMS to remove snow or to do lawn work or whatever. And this guy sitting here, his brother-in-law owns a competitor of LMS. And his brother-in-law says, do me a favor, pal. What's LMS paying? What are you guys paying LMS? He goes upstairs, he snaps pictures of this contract. We have contracts with Republic to pick up garbage. We have contracts with companies that remove trees. We will lose entirely our competitive ability to bid for things if our contracts are free and open for anybody to look at. We have 3 or 4, you don't have to applaud me. I'm just giving you what the truth is. It's not me. This is not my idea. I'm sharing with you my years of experience at this because I sat here 10 years ago wondering the same thing. What's the big deal? It's a contract. Why can't everybody see? We all know it. Anybody can look at those contracts, but that doesn't mean you could take copies of it home. I don't know if any of this falls under law. I know that this is absolutely customary. I've been to numerous CAI educational forums. I belong to another board. I deal with a property manager there. I've talked to the property management company over there. This is the case in every HOA that I've ever heard of, that these documents are not open for anybody to take notes and look at and take pictures. I can understand why people would think it was counterintuitive that that were the case, but there's really good, solid reason for it. So I would encourage the board to keep the policy the way it is.
Mark,
I'm going to answer you this way. I don't know what the law says or doesn't say. What is customary, I think the board has to consider all the things, but maybe we'll check with our lawyer and find out what is required of us, because if the law requires us to do this, then we have to do it. If they don't, we can make our own decision, but I'm not prepared to say what the law is and isn't today. Yes, we'll ask our lawyer. That's why we have a lawyer
there's
to advise us.
there's currently quite a bit of legal opinions on that and state laws that are covered under this. And I've done quite a bit of reading on it, and everything I read says, yes, you should be able to get them. You should not be denied them. HOAs, yes, in the HOAs. I don't understand why anyone would want to defend not sharing information for something that you're paying for. I don't quite get that. And I don't understand about the competitiveness. In the real world, everyone knows what the other one's paying, so that drives the prices down, so you get the best deal. You keep it the way it's currently, you're paying a higher price.
Eileen Carpenter, 23A Rutland. Mark makes a very compelling argument. I really don't know. I'm not a lawyer. However, how about, I know that you guys meet with the other communities. What do other communities do in this situation? Hello?
I polled the communities of Monroe and shared those results with the board.
And can you share the results with us?
No one that responded shares copies. They all said that you can come and view a copy in the office, but they don't make copies.
Okay.
Not everyone responded, but I did ask every 55 over community in Monroe.
final presentation next week as to what we think and what we should be done. But that's the idea of a workshop meeting. So I hope that the board is
Act, that this is something new for us as well. We're not coming in to tell you what we've decided. We're coming in to find out what you want. We may not agree with you. No, yes, we can, well, of course we can do, no, wait a minute, Sandra. We want to listen to the community, whether the community convinces us to do one thing or another is we're not discussing. We're saying that we want to hear. That's why you're here today. That's why we're here. And then next week, after we discuss it, we'll come back and say why, what we're doing and why we're doing it. Yes, but
Karen,
that's my understanding of what a workshop meeting is. Am
if
I
I
right?
can, if I can speak from experience, I spent almost 7 or 8 years calling on the hospitals in the city of New York. And part of that group was the Health and Hospital Corporation of New York City, which were all the city hospitals. And one of the products that I sold, which I sold to the microbiology labs, okay, they used to send out a bid, a request for bid, okay? And they said, okay, the bid opening is going to be 10 a.m. on Church Street on February 22nd. Okay, and I would go there and my competitors would go there. And the bid opening was at 10 a.m. at that time. It wasn't bids that were coming in piecemeal, one at a time. Okay, but to get back to this other thing, the only people who were able to see those bids were the people who bid. Okay, at the end of the bid, if I won half the bid, my competitors would see, and I would see what they bid, and they would see what I bid. But it was strictly the competitors who attended that meeting, nobody else. Okay, and that's one thing. The other thing that I've always had to deal with were bid openings. Bid openings, you sent out a bid for paving of the streets or whatever. And then I realize you have companies that have done a lot of goodwill at that, there's a Barron and Jackson, whatever their name is. They've done a lot of things for the people where their streets are being redone. But what we do, we do these bids one at a time. So who's to say, oh, I got a bid for $28,000. Oh, this one got a bid for $26,000. Another bid comes in. They should all be opened at the same time, and they should be opened in front of people who are going to look at all the competitive bids. And that's the way people do business in this country.
Basically, what the discussion really is here tonight.
Yeah,
Is that
good.
You are all stakeholders here, everyone here who's a homeowner and pays a monthly HOA fee. And you're paying for all these contracts. And if at any time you may feel like, why are we doing this or why are we doing that? And why are we paying this and why are we paying that? You have an opportunity to review it and say, I have questions on that. And you can come and question the board about it. That's what we're here for. But you can't do that if you're not educated on what you're even here to talk about. You have to be able to review the contract. And some of these contracts are very complicated. And trust me when I tell you that, they are. So you can't sit in a room here in this building and review it and come up with an idea of what you want to do or how you want to go about it. If you can make a copy of it, you can go home and read it at your leisure and figure it out. And then if you feel comfortable, you can come to the board and talk to us about it. So that's what we're saying here. We're just trying to open this up, be more transparent in what we're doing. So the word here that the three here are against is transparent, but I'm pushing transparency. So that's what I'm doing. So thank you for your time. And I hope that next week we get further discussion on it. And we'll come to a decision whether we're going to move forward with this or not, or just do more look at it.
Wayne Baruch, 43 Winston's Way. I want to rise in support of Tom's premise. As a member of the Greenbrier Board, Jamie will present
the bids that she's received. We'll review them and we'll make our best decision as the Greenbrier Board. I'm sure that the WOA Board does precisely the same thing. The point that I think Kathy and Tom, for example, are trying to present is to say, you all, and the folks on the Greenbrier side as well, obviously, also have the right to ask us, these folks too, did you make the right decision? Is the deal with a Hobar the right deal for the community? Is the deal with Business Bistro the right deal for the community? Our homeowners have the right to ask those questions, and we as Greenbrier Board members, these folks as WOA Board members, have a fiduciary duty to you all and the folks at home, obviously, to answer those questions candidly and thoroughly. And what Tom, I think, is proposing is the best way to give our 2,500-ish homeowners a best way to do that and to get that information.
I think we've discussed it. The point is, the board has not met together to discuss. This is an issue that we are presently discussing. We wanted the views of the community, and then the board will decide. I haven't made a decision. I can tell you that now. I want to hear what it is and then decide how I want to vote, whether we make it open or not. That's all. At this point, that's all I can say. So we will consider, but we wanted to hear what you wanted to say.
One of the things that I've said is before we reach any final decision, we have lawyers.
Right.
And we must get their opinion to find out if, in fact, this is something we should do, can do, or something we shouldn't do, and then get the reasoning why. And it's really premature to say this is a decision that's been made. It hasn't been made. But I caution my fellow board members, before any final decision is made, we must get legal opinion and make sure that this decision is made with that, so it doesn't come back that we've done the wrong thing. That's all I could say.
We all said that.
Okay, next.
Microphone.
Next thing was the email discussion group, and that's basically what we've been doing. I was wondering how many people would be interested in having an email discussion group so we could do exactly what we've been doing here tonight. People, we have maybe 50 people here, to give everybody else in the community an opportunity to weigh in on these different topics that we've been talking about. So people here, would you be interested in having an email discussion group where we can talk about these things? No, it would just be email discussion group. So if somebody has a question, they bring it out to the community and
Okay,
everybody can give their opinion.
I told Jay that I was going to say this when he brought this up. Okay, no, I'm just telling you that once I am concerned that anything under the auspices of the association or our email is open for that kind of stuff that comes up on Nextdoor. If somebody is, and I don't believe we can control what people are going. Now, if I believed that every question would be legitimate of a question about how things are done, fine, but I can't depend on that. So I am concerned, and I told him we'll have to speak to council because I don't want to leave the association or the board liable for anything because we allowed a forum for people to make false accusations.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I just want to say something about email groups. And I know Jay is very familiar with Google Groups, but with that technology, you could actually monitor what goes in and out. Problem with that is who's going to be the monitor and what's going to be the rules. And I think you'll get into a lot of trouble with something like that because people will definitely bash because that's what people do. They love it because they've got this anonymity. Now, one of the things I had suggested a long time ago was the suggestion box. Okay, which people can put their ideas into. And I know it's kind of old school, but you know, it might be something, or we could set up something like where you could just mail in suggestions without it going a back and forth for a conversation, because that's when you get into real trouble. People with email, they're crazy. I mean, people get crazy.
But what I don't understand is why we're even doing this. When emails is sent to the management, to Jamie, and she responds to them, and I think she has a great line of communication with the residents, responds to emails, they send questions, and I think that's better suited. These discussion groups have a way of getting out of hand.
But perhaps we can create just a formal mailbox for your suggestions, call it a suggestion mailbox.
But
Just
not
so
a
that-
but we're not talking
Not
about a
a
discussion
I
group.
don't think that, I think that it's gonna be really hard to control it, and I think you'll get into legal issues with, you know, if you decide what someone can or can't say. My personal opinion, but you can control that, just FYI.
Thank you.
Hello. So, hi, whoever said hello. My name's Alan Greenberg. I'm at 17 Halifax. I don't have an opinion about the topic you're talking on. I'm just making a request of the board. When you are asking an open-ended question as this one is, those of us who are in the audience who are replying cannot be heard either on Zoom or in the back row. So please, if you have something to say, that certainly is important. Everybody wants to hear it. Please come to the microphone. That's all I have to say.
Last thing, it's actually a question for Jamie. People have asked me about old furnitures. I was told that Jamie, I was told that old furniture was seen in the dumpster, and they were asking if it could or give instead of just throwing it out.
I haven't thrown away any furniture. I'm not sure what we're referring to.
Excuse me?
I haven't thrown away any furniture. I'm not sure what we're referring to.
I don't know.
Sometime-
I was told somebody found chairs in the dumpster.
There's a perfect example of what I was saying to you before. Here comes a fabrication that somebody is throwing away our chairs.
Well,
and then it must be Jamie because she has control of it and she's never heard of this. And this is right at the borderline.
I will say
making
this,
accusations. So,
there are a lot of very naughty residents
yes,
that throw things away in our dumpsters. And we have cameras and we see you. And we find you. But if something's broken, we throw it away. We offered, when we were trying to get rid of the red chairs that we got rid of from the front multipurpose room, we tried to sell them for $1 each, 50 cents each. We offered them for free to the Knights of Columbus, to a bunch of different places, and nobody wanted them. But we have not thrown away any furniture that I'm aware of, just as I have not purchased any furniture.
Thank you, Jamie.
Press the button.
Come on. Okay, hi, Regina Savarese, 90 Harwood. Okay, to Jamie's defense and to the business office defense, I think they're doing a great job. Okay, there, you know, you have to understand there's 1,607 houses. And she has to deal with everybody's complaints and whatever else comes up. And for her to have to handle it just because sometimes she can't be maybe as friendly as you'd like her to be. Think of it when you're home and you're raising your family, your children. And after a while, your children keep going at you and at you. And then you, the way you respond and react to them, she's a great person. She's doing the best that she can. And so is the rest of the business office. I think she needs to get a good applaud on this one.
Thank you. That was very nice.
All right, so let's move on to old business now. And again,
With the locker room, a question actually for Jamie and Larry. We had discussed putting some kind of stickers on the floor where it was slippery in the locker room. Can we get a follow-up on that? You know,
Who,
Hey.
I'm sorry, I don't recall a discussion about stickers.
there was a discussion at the town center committee and Ellen Panzer came up with a solution and was supposed to present it, but she's not on that committee anymore. So I don't know what happened with it. And you're the, Jay, that was something that you were, my recollection, was going to take care of because it was presented. I don't know if it was presented to Jamie or not,
No,
but
I'm sorry, it was not. If
but
there's
there's
something you
a,
can give me, I
there
can
was
look into it.
some sort of special floor or application that can be done, and it was supposed to be researched. So that was the last thing. You know what we'll do is, since there seems to be an ongoing discussion about the locker room floors, we will revisit it. We will look at it and we will see if we can come up with a solution that is both solves the problem and economical. Okay.
Larry, so Wayne Baruch, 43 Winston's Way. As some of you may know, I'm a retired corporate safety director. About a year plus ago, I corresponded with, and I'm not saying this to pick on Jamie, not saying this to pick on Miriam, but to move on the subject. The point is, I pointed out websites that I typically used for mats for various purposes, whether they're on frozen roofs, whether whatever variety of kinds of purposes, and volunteered to work with them to come up with the right solution for slip resistance in those wet areas. And we have those problems. Now, according to the National Safety Council, 2021, there were around 45,000 fall-related incidents that resulted in deaths. There were almost 7 million incidents related to falls in ERs nationwide. These are incidents. I actually fell outside here in the picnic area. And thank you, by the way, Jamie, for remediating that hazard. I will gladly help. I will gladly work with whomever to find the right solutions for these issues. One of the things, if I recall correctly, that Miriam wrote, might have been you, Jamie, I'm not sure, I apologize, I'm not saying this to pick on you, obviously, is there was a concern about the edges of any kind of mats that could be tripping hazards. I get that, that's a fair point. And that's another issue related to this that we need to make sure gets addressed in a solution. I volunteer to work with whomever to come up with the right solutions to address these hazards.
Very much
Thank
for
you.
offering to volunteer.
Lolly Reich, 3 Wellfleet. I was the chairman of the Town Center Committee. And the last couple of meetings, we did come up with a couple of suggestions. Somebody said that there was commercial, like you put in your bathtub, those little wiggly things. And there are commercial ones like that. And they were supposed to follow that up. So that's one suggestion. And it doesn't have edges to fall. So they were looking into it. Whatever happens with this new committee will happen, but that is one of the suggestions.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the town center committee is aware of it and has been brainstorming and trying to figure out a solution, as I said earlier, that solves the problem, but at the same time is also economical. So it's not something that's being ignored. And Jay, as the liaison, is, I'm sure, actively pursuing it.
and last thing I have is sightline on Half Acre Road. When you're driving up Half Acre, you can't see the Greenbrier Whittingham sign until you're close to it. And I heard that the safety committee is already looking at it. And Karen has some information on that, if you would, please.
we appreciate that Jay has brought this to our attention, what he views as a problem. So we referred it to the Traffic Safety Committee, and they are going to discuss it at next Friday's meeting, and it is on their agenda. So we will address what Jay has raised. Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, I just want to commend you. I mean, all the order of business that we've had here tonight was by Jay. His name is on every item here. So, you know, he's been doing his homework. So, and it's great to have this discussion in an open forum that everyone can hear what the board is discussing. So saying that, I think the recommendation on that is fine. Thank you.
Good evening, board. I snuck up. Bob Fossack, 138 Chichester. Regarding the intersection Harwood, Chichester and Whittingham Drive. I want to thank this board, the old board, and Jamie for improving it coming out of Harwood, but there's still 50% less. And it's difficult for me to make the meetings on Thursday mornings for the safety committee. So what I'm asking is if whoever now on the board here is a representative to the safety committee, could you have someone get in touch with me so I can take them out there physically and show them where there's a way we can improve it even more than it is now? Harwood. Oh, I'm talking about the intersection by the guardhouse.
I am,
Harwood and Chichester.
Just,
I'm not talking
I'm
about that.
sorry
I'm
to
talking
interrupt.
about the.
I am-
Everybody
I
knows
am
we've
the-
now moved into open forum. Okay.
okay, I am the new liaison to that committee. I know that the chair people, one is here and one is looking on Zoom. That they've heard that and they can get together with you if they feel it's necessary.
Because
Okay,
it's something rather than to
Yeah.
just describe is to show.
okay, I will tell them. I'm
Okay.
sure they now know. Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Is it open forum yet?
they said it's open forum. If you have, the questions, please limit it 3 minutes. Thank you.
Bob Fossack, 138 Chichester. 6 months ago, last July, I asked the then board, and the Greenbrier board was seated also, if there was some way that we could have either in the newspaper, in an email, something that explains to all the residents what security can do in our development and can't do. And the reason is because in a lot of discussions I've had with people, they have told stories about security coming to the door. They can't go in the house. They can't help you do this. They can't. So I think it would behoove the board if they could please publish something that all the residents can read to know what security can do and can't do in this community.
I did send something out. I'd be happy to resend it.
Could you please?
Sure, I sent it out. I mean, if they would like to publish it in the newsletter, of course, I don't think Joan's here, but I can email it.
I
to Joan.
remember something, but there was nothing like, well, they can't enter your house.
I
or-
mean, let's be clear. I can't list every single little thing that they can and can't do. They cannot go in your house. Of course, they can't go in your house. That's a huge liability. They can't, they should not, while on duty, bring in your trash can, bring in your mail. However, there are people here who are willing to do things for you after shift. Some people, it's dark, it's cold, they can't get their trash toter out to the curb. And if after shift, a guard wants to do you a kindness, that's up to you. And I mind my own business, I look the other way. But they don't have to do anything but their actual job. And that's what I put in the email. So rather than all the things they can't do, I listed what their actual job is, which is to patrol the community, to
Okay.
answer your calls. So I think it's pretty clear. If you have any additional questions, I'll send it out again tomorrow. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lolly Reich, Free Wellfleet. You know, something was mentioned before about rumors and people telling tales that are not true. That's primarily why I'm here. I don't come out at night, but it's come to my attention that there are, it may not be rumors, they may be true, about our manager, about our accountants, about our law people, and about Business Bistro or B Bistro. And we happen to have a very close community here that has been my salvation in the 12 years that I'm living here. And I just hate to see these things torn apart for no reason. I came from Trump Village. I was on the board for 30 years, president 3 times over those 30 years. And we never had what is going on here. It's despicable. It really is. I feel that we have to come to terms with whatever is going around here. It's bad for our employees. It's bad for our residents. We are the #1 community in this area, and I just want to keep it that way. I know we have a new board who wants to come in and clean out whatever they're going to clean out, but whatever they're doing, it could be done differently. There were secret meetings and so on and so forth, and they came up with the people that they wanted to propose for the board, which was fine. But I want to tell you, the people are not going to sit for a lot of things that we heard. And it really has to stop. What am I talking about? Should I name names? No.
I
I'm not
think we
going to.
better be very careful about any allegations that have been
Right, I'm
floating
not gonna
around
do
this
it.
community and get up there and say what they are and what's been said.
I am
and
not
what's
saying
true.
anything.
Okay, I'm just saying you're getting to the edge where the next thing I'm going to hear is going to be something derogatory that you've heard. And I'm telling you, be careful. Because if
Listen.
whether it be about the board, whether it be about the old board, the new board,
Okay,
whatever
let
it
me,
is.
okay, Karen, I got your message.
Okay.
I really do.
I hope so.
I just want to tell everybody that the committees that ran these people for the board, are I'll talk to you afterwards. Oh. Your friend ran, okay. That's only about 10% of our community. And the other 90% are very satisfied with what we have here. And I would just appreciate it if you would stop with the innuendos. Our employees are not happy. Not that I know from it, but I've heard talk. And it's a very sad thing. They don't know who's being fired or who's not being fired.
All right. Thank you,
That's
Lally.
the end of
I
it.
appreciate that. And as you said, and I agree, rumors are harmful, hurtful, and unfortunately, there's no way you could stop them.
Okay, Rochelle Goldschmidt, 129 Birmingham. I have a Tuesday morning at the beginning of the storm, my husband and I pulled out to go to a doctor at Princeton Hospital. And they had treated the roads well. They had a single lane down the plow so we could get through. Looking down the roads as we were going, there were cars parked in the street. When we came home 2 hours later, there were still cars parked in the street. I saw today on Leeds Lane, the one car has not moved yet, and I'm sure will still be parked there tomorrow on the street. Now, the plow has to go around it, and it drops all the snow on the next person's driveway. And since I was one of the person's driveways, I didn't appreciate it. It used to be that I remember one time we were walking and security came around and knocked on doors and said, you have to get your car out of the street. What is being done now to get this under control? I know a notice went out to everybody.
Yeah, and so we sent the email out to everyone in the community. I'm sure most of you got it. Birmingham and Westboro are by far the worst because you're stuck with a single car driveway. And a lot of people are not parking in their garage because they're using it for storage. And then it does not allow us to plow the roads curb to curb. It leaves a lot of ice. And then when you finally move your car, there's a lot of ice and things left in the road. So what we did was we had security going around. They were checking license plates. If the people lived here, we were calling them and having cars moved. If the people do not live here, which is very difficult for us, if they're just visiting, we can't knock on every door. It really depends on the availability of the staff and the event. We were calling some of the houses.
But
"Hey,
what are you doing with the people who live here and are parking in the street? We take our
we can
second,
fine and
we put one car in the garage.
can issue fines and violations to the people who will not move from the street. One car hadn't moved from the streets in weeks, and when I called them, they did move it, so they were having a health issue. One of their children was with them and they moved the car, no problem. They just didn't know the rule. So when the people do live here, there are rules that we can enforce and we do. It's just much better if people don't park in the
We
street.
park one car in the garage and we park one car up here at Town Center.
And that's perfect. That's exactly what you should do.
Mhm.
And, I always recommend that people park in their garage when they can. Garages are not meant for storage. I know there's not a lot of storage in your homes here. A lot of homes don't have a basement, but that's why you moved here, to downsize and get rid of all that stuff. So get rid of it and park in your garage. Park one car in the town center, absolutely by the bus stop. But that is something that we were actually really on, and that's why that email went out, and we will stay on it tomorrow as well.
Thank you.
Irene Carpenter, 23A Rutland. To Rochelle's point, I believe we passed a motion or something about a year ago about parking and towing cars if they're over the white line. And there were all kinds of implications in there. So I don't understand why that's not implemented for people parking on streets when there is snow on the ground, because I would think that you can't do that.
It's not a part of the resolution. I'm sure it's something that I could enforce if it comes down to it and the board
Okay.
tells me to start enforcing it, because we do have a towing resolution now.
And-
I would just really prefer people move their cars.
And to Rochelle's point, in Whittingham, where we do have parking areas, people are still leaving their cars on the street during the snow. So that's certainly not acceptable. But I wanted to talk to just a couple of things, okay? Motions. When we come here and you talk about a motion, it would be really good if when you send the email out about the meeting, you also send the motion that you're going to read. So we will come into this meeting knowing what to expect. We came here today and motions weren't even prepared or made for things that we were going to vote on that we didn't vote on. But the point is, when there is a motion that is going to be voted on, it should go out in the email. We should be able to see it before the meeting, so we know what we're coming to hear about. So like next week, when we have a motion on, what do we have, on the spending limits, I would like to see what that motion is going to be, so that there's no questions about what the motion is. Anyway, I thought that was a good idea. My second point was alarms. Okay, so I just discovered that Alexa will not call 911 for you if you fall down. Now, I now live alone, unfortunately, which really is not happy, but, okay. So I got this here Apple Watch, in case I fall down, but I don't always wear the watch. But I said, oh God, well, I have Alexa all over the place, so I could just say, Alexa, call 911. But now I found out Alexa won't call 911. So now I'm thinking about the alarms. Okay, our alarm system was changed. Okay, I'm not quite sure. I've heard that if it goes off, we're not supposed to call the company anymore. We're supposed to call the police. Does our 3 alarm buttons in Whittingham still work. Nobody checks anything. So I don't know what's working, what's not working, and what the
Okay,
process is.
Eileen, let's take this back a second, because
Okay.
you said a lot of words there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The alarms in the condominiums.
Okay.
That are required and provided by the association.
Yeah.
Are for fire and burglar, okay?
Okay.
Burglar technically could be removed at some point, but because it's tied in with your fire, it's left in place. You can use it or not use it, totally up to you. Fire must be used in accordance with the Department of Community Affairs, the DCA regulations for New Jersey, and fire code. Other units, a lot of units, especially original units, have additional buttons, panic buttons. other
Right, we have
things.
those 3 buttons here.
They were tested when all the alarms were changed and they are all working. We have explained this a few times. The alarms used to go off of a hard phone line in your house. They do not do that anymore. They go off of a different signal and it's all tracked by computer. So if your battery is low, our IT manager can see in his computer system that your battery is low. Now, when it gets to a certain point that it's at a certain level that it's low, it's going to start beeping in your house and driving you crazy. And you're going to call him and say, Jose, what the heck, come change my battery. And he's going to do that.
Okay.
We offer additional services, but those are at the cost of the homeowner, not the association, because not all residents want to pay for you to have a life alert or for you to.
No, I understand that.
No, I'm just explaining, or to have window alarms. So there are several people here who have said, I live alone. And I'll tell you right now, my aunt lives alone, 4 Seasons at Monroe. She's young. She's 70 years old. She's active. However, she fell last year and she didn't tell us. So I made her get a button that she wears around the house when she's alone.
Yeah, I'm not
Doesn't have to be embarrassed. Nobody's going to see her. And if she falls down, she can push the button. I said, you don't have to wear it when you're going out to dinner, but when you're home, I'd just like to know that if something happens, you push it. It ties into the alarm in your unit. It's something that you would pay a one-time fee for and call Jose. So if you want something tested, call Jose and make an appointment.
Okay.
But the reason we don't do the in-house testing every year is technology is advanced.
Okay.
We don't have the.
That's fair. And I was
1975
just
alarm.
wondering about it.
Yeah.
So there is a nurse button on there, I believe. Or a 911 button
The
on,
911 button would call 911.
so
and
that
the-
still works. That
You-
was my
Yes,
question.
and you should never call the nurse if you're having a medical emergency. You
Right.
always call 911.
Right.
If you have a secondary phone, like you have a cell phone and a house
Uh-huh.
phone, and then you want to call the nurse as well, because she might get to you sooner, that's fine, but always call 911 first.
Okay. So I don't know, maybe an email summarizing all this stuff should go out. I think it might be a good idea. People are concerned. I wanted to know the status of the merger. What? Okay, I just wanted to know the status of the merger. So I don't know what's. Oh, okay. All right, Larry. Well, you'll come up with an answer by then, right? Yeah. Thank you.
That's what I just said.
I'm Steve Giassi from 3H. I'm Steve Giassi from 3H Chadwick Lane.
Get close to the mic, Steve.
Steve Giassi, 3H Chadwick Lane. I reviewed the operating budget for 2024 in some detail. I also went online and reviewed the presentation that was done at the board meeting. After this, I came up with a lengthy list of questions to send to Sean, the controller, about my concerns about the budget. I sent a copy to Jamie. She said the best thing for me to do to voice my concerns would be to bring me to the attention of the board. Now, my total HOA fees for Whittingham went up to $630 a month this year from $567. I know the major issue about the insurance, so I don't want to beat a dead horse with that. Okay, I know why that happened. My concern, and in the budget presentation online, this was glossed over, and it's very concerning to me, about the capital funding requirements for Whittingham over the next 5 to 10 years. According to the schedule that was in the budget, the the funding requirement next year for the capital funding for Whittingham is $1 million from 726,000 for this year. If that happens, the HOA fees are gonna go from 630 to 690, okay? And that doesn't include any baseline inflation rates, okay? Also, in the presentation was an increase in the funding to $1.5 million by 2027. And I crunched some numbers and put in some baseline inflation rates on the baseline fee. And with the additional funding, by 2027, the total HOA fee for Whittingham will be $865, okay? That's a $234,000 increase over now. I am very concerned about the value of my home and other homes in Whittingham going into the tank. These HOA fees, I know we have a capital component to the budget, so I understand that. But somebody's going to have to take a look at the fact that in this schedule, there are $13 million in capital improvements scheduled for the next 10 years. That's $30,000 per household, okay? Somebody's got to take a look at what's going on with the capital budget and make a list of what the haves, the essential stuff is and what the nice to haves are, okay? Because I'm ready to start looking to go somewhere else.
Okay, let me, I'm going to address one part of this and Kathy can do the specifics. The state of New Jersey just passed a law. We're the second state in the nation after Florida. And it was because of what happened when the building fell down in Florida and killed 100 people. We are now required under the law to provide for capital structure, any kind of that, and also that there's enough money in our reserves to replace or repair everything that they, after the engineers look at it, anything they say has to be done now by law, has to be done. So the bottom line is we're going to have engineers do this. I can't tell you specifically. We'll have a much better idea because we're going to have a new reserve study done in the next couple of months. We're going to start because, as I said, now I understand that people are concerned with how much money, and I do really truly understand, but you've got to. Okay, you have to understand the reasoning behind this new law is to protect the community so that roofs don't fall in and just siding is replaced when it has to be. I don't have an estimate for you now, but we will have a better idea after the new reserve study is done and we work with the engineers to come up with a plan. Because we have to do it. It's not going to be a question of choice.
Whatever discretionary spending is there, and maybe get rid of some of the stuff that's nice to have. I'd be happy to help with number crunching or whatever. I'm a CPA. This is what I've done. I'd be happy to help Sean or anybody else on the board with any analysis that needs to be done. Because I'm very concerned about the value of my home. When somebody's looking around the area and they see that Encore, the monthly fees there are $410 a month. And Stonebridge is 5 something. And then they look at here and it's 630 and rising. People are going to say, you know, the value of the home is going to go down. I mean, this is something that needs to be dealt with.
I understand what you're saying, but please remember, this law applies to every condominium in the state of New Jersey. It is not optional. It is going to be what we're told we have to do. And I am sure that the government is going to come in and make sure that we do what we have to. It's for safety. And that's what this is all about. They don't want us to wait 20 years after when we should have replaced something. And then all of a sudden, we'll have to do an assessment. So just bear with it until we get the
Okay, 'cause I
reserve
think we
study.
need details.
Yes,
on
you'll
what
get,
this project's
you'll
on.
get details, guaranteed. I'm sorry, what?
Can I address this from a financial perspective? And you obviously have the financial background. I do also. This is the reason that I was asked to be treasurer, to campaign, to come and try to get onto the board. I'm very concerned, just as you are. I can see the numbers. I can see what the future holds for this community. It is extremely serious. I am not going to hide it. I absolutely feel that everyone in this community needs to understand that, yes, as a result of the new capital reserve requirements, there are concerns going forward. We will need to budget for these items for preventative maintenance, which we do. We currently do. We have a great property manager who has been taking care of that. So it's just a matter of diverting from operating to capital. So at least we're somewhat covered there. But yes, the costs are a concern going forward because our community is an aging community. Now, communities.
So his question, because he's not at the microphone, Steve, and all the people at Zoom want to hear you, is what's going on with other communities.
And there's-
So
so
the board will actually be meeting. They meet quarterly with all the other 55 and over communities in Monroe to discuss different things. And also keep in mind, a couple of the communities you named, Stonebridge and Encore, they're different. They're like Greenbrier. They're not a condo like yours. So they have to pay for their own roof. They have to pay for their own siding. That's some of the difference. If you look at Concordia across the street, they're much more comparable to us, but it's definitely something that the board's been discussing constantly in closed meetings and meeting with engineers to discuss what requirements are going to be moving forward so that it doesn't become cost prohibitive to live here, but your homes are still maintained.
If I can just finish to address your concerns, I have looked at the budget in as much detail as has been made available. I do not see fat in the budget. I do not see unnecessary spending in the budget. I cannot speak to what happened 10 years ago or 15 years ago that caused our homeowners' fees to increase over the years. I'm just going to end it by saying any questions that you have, please bring them to us. I would be happy, and I'm very strongly considering doing a budget presentation workshop. Let's call it a workshop where we can explain to our homeowners what the line items are and what we're paying for. And I think at this point it may be necessary, but I do want to end by saying this is a wonderful community. I own 2 homes, so I'm paying twice, basically. The community certainly, in my opinion, is, and I will only give you my opinion, better than the neighboring communities. And I am hanging on. I love it here. I love the people here. Please don't make hasty moves. We are working through this. We are trying to do the best for the community. But I will say, and I've said it before, there is not a lot of fat in this budget. It is a tight budget. I can't speak for what happened 15, 20 years ago. I certainly was not here. I wasn't even a homeowner in the community. But I am doing everything I can with the tools that we have to try to alleviate the pressures on our homeowners. I guess it's the only way.
I just want to tell you how fortunate we are to have Kathy now on the board with her background and her knowledge and her education and her ability to work on these things. Because this is the first time since I've lived here where we've had a treasurer who's really a treasurer and is going to keep.
Just for the board, you do have a bunch of Zoom questions as your line diminishes, okay?
Bob Buckley, 5 Birmingham. Maureen and I have lived at 5 Birmingham for the last 4 years. We're very happy with the community. And we just had a great event on Saturday at B Bistro in the dining room. Could not have been better. George is such an easy guy to work with. His pricing was very reasonable. And the 40 people who were there for our celebration, it was family and a few friends, they all had a great time. They were so impressed with the property and with that dining room. And we were there from 2 to 5 o'clock, and that was Saturday. I wanted to get here as soon as possible to let everybody else know, to share that good experience that we all had. So I would recommend, if you're considering doing anything, do it here. Speak to George. He is so flexible. His pricing is so reasonable. And that room is really cozy. And everyone was talking to each other. We had a great time. Thank you. Next time.
Hi, Sandra Conine Winthrop. I just want to tag on to him, but I have something else. I don't know whether everybody knows how many people in the community get their meals now that it's winter from George, from a bistro. We have gotten a lot of things for the holidays. We order from him. His food is wonderful. He's very reasonable. He's very, very gracious. I want to do something personally in the community in July. Is he going to be here in July? Board, hello? Because I know his contract is up, I think, in May. So I can't book anything for the summer on a personal level. And I know some other people want to have some parties, engagement parties for their children. And he doesn't know if he could do that. What are you doing about that, may I ask?
You gonna answer?
Go ahead.
Anybody?
We have
as you
not-
said,
Are you going to
Jamie, go-
answer it? Okay, just.
I could say is that, yes, you're right. The contract is up for renewal. We are exploring it. We're sitting down, making arrangements to talk and see what we need to do to go forward. I know people are happy with George. I can't answer at this moment what the outcome will be. I just want to let you know it's not something we're ignoring.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we know that it's been, I know the tennis club wants to book their thing, they can't. I really don't understand. Nobody else is coming here. I mean, we all know that. My second point is, I've been on the board for a while. I was not on the board for 2 years. I was on the Covenants Committee for 1 year. I applied again and I received a notification that I'm not on that because of, I don't even know, I don't understand it because I've only been on it for a year. There are people who've been on the Entertainment Committee for 10 years, they're still there. There are people who've been on the Covenants Committee for 8 years, they're still there. I don't understand that. I certainly am very qualified for that. So, and I don't want to take it personally, but I don't understand why that's happening. Everybody that I know, who has been on the board has been excluded from being on a committee. Now, I haven't been on the board for 2 years, so why was I excluded from this committee? Anybody? Because you guys made, what? I can't speak for the others. I shouldn't have even spoken about the others, but I would just like to know why was, because I know that the board made the decision. I know there weren't thousands of people who came. I understand one person has been on a long time and I can understand that, but I don't understand. I've been on, and it said in the letter, giving other people a chance to be on committees. Well, I've only been on that a year and there have been other people on the Covenants Committee for 5 and 6 years who are still there. So could you explain that to me? You don't what?
Sandra,
Yes.
so the discussions about appointing committee members, as you know, as a prior board member, are confidential. I apologize if you feel you were slighted or overlooked, but the board made a decision when they went through the applications and put on the people who they felt were best qualified.
Well,
and
I'm certainly
not-
more than
Maybe I should
qualified.
have said it that way.
Right.
But the board did their best to try and accommodate anyone who applied.
Right. A lot of people did not apply for that committee.
I-
So I just,
Again,
so now,
discussions were confidential, as you know that.
yes.
And you're asking me or the board.
I'm not
to-
asking you for a
Not
reason.
me personally,
because
but
I
you're
know
asking
what the
board
reason
to
is.
comment.
I know what
or-
the reason is.
well,
The reason is that
I-
all of us who have been on the boards before have been, have not been allowed to join any of the committees. Thank you.
Okay, so some Zoom questions here. We'll go through as quickly as possible. Diane Mars Poff wants to thank the Board of Management for dealing with the ice removal. They've been extremely dangerous if it had not been taken care of. Acquisition for the gym. Several of us have requested a heavy bag and a speed bag to be located in the gym. The alcove that has the rowing machine would be a perfect location. The rowing machine could be relocated. There are several people familiar with boxing in the community, and it could be helpful in choosing either hanging bag or standing bag. Does the board want to respond to that request? It was discussed at the last executive session. Does anyone on the board want to answer the question, or would you like me to answer it for them? Okay, the board opted not to make the purchase at this time. Let's see if I have anything else. An email group is fine, just make it limited to people in the community. That was just a comment. Margie Bales, going back to the locker room, I would like to see an emergency poll if someone needs help in the locker room and they're alone. We had it before. This is true. It's something that's very complicated to add. I've been talking with Jose on adding it. We do have a phone in the locker room in case there was an emergency, but it's something we have been discussing. Someone else said, does everyone have email? And I did respond, 95% of the people here have a logged email. That is all of the Zoom questions that I have.
Mark Lindell, 15 Trent Road. About 2 weeks ago, I spoke to Michelle about street lighting in the community. I identified 3 light poles that have been out, and I've contacted JCP&L through their website, and I've gotten absolutely no response. They send back an email, oh, we'll look at it in 3 days. One suggestion, could we have security in their nightly rounds? Jot down other street lights that are out.
They do. They
And-
give us a streetlight report.
And can we put more pressure on JCP&L and go to higher management?
We
to get this
have,
done?
we have escalated up to Senator Greenstein. Harold Klein in the township takes our calls. Senator Greenstein takes our calls. JCP&L has been called into Monroe Township and the mayor laid into them. They have a monopoly. It's really, really difficult to get JCP&L to comply with anything. But I can tell you that we have escalated it up to the municipality and to Linda Greenstein's office. We're on it.
Okay. Like to call motion to adjourn? All right, moved and seconded. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all coming this evening.
Oh, Francis Gunther. Save it for the next one.